gathered here today to show our respect for those innocent citizens who died in the 9/11 terrorist attacks in 2001. We hope to make this 9/11 Remembrance Ceremony a tradition at Hialeah Gardens High School. On behalf of the student body, I would like to thank the Honorable Mayor Yioset de la Cruz, Representative Eddie Garcia, and the first responders for their presence here today. Dr. Algaze, our school principal, and his dedicated staff, the Hialeah Gardens PTSA, and the student volunteers who have put in time and effort to make this event possible. Thank you to Mrs. Montiel for being such a gracious host for this event. At this time, I would like to introduce the Honorable Mayor of Hialeah Gardens, Yioset de la Cruz.
Good morning. Thank you so much. I am so proud to be here today and to see so many students celebrating, and we have to say celebrating because we know that those lives that were lost on September 11th had a reason, and there was a reason why September 11th happened. And I gotta tell you, it's very symbolic that I'm standing here today because if you remember, I'm sure most of you were 7 years old when this happened back in September 11th of 2001. This school wasn't built back then. And out of the ashes of that infamous event on September 11th of 2001, a new nation was born. A nation that was more united, stronger, a nation that didn't take anything for granted, and a nation that realized that the future of our city lies in your hands. Eventually, the torch of freedom will be passed on to you, the youth of our community, the youth of our nation. And it is extremely important that you know the value of the lives that were lost on September 11th, that you know the value of the police officers standing behind me and the firefighters that lost their lives to secure that our lives were safe. On that infamous day of September 11th, 2001, we lost nearly 3,000 lives, and it was one of the darkest days in the history of our nation. And recently I had the opportunity to meet with former Mayor Rudy Giuliani, who was the mayor of New York and was the mayor of New York for many years. And I asked him what it was like to be in New York during that time, during the days following the attacks of September 11th. And he told me something that I will never forget. He told me that amongst the ashes and amongst the tragedy of that day, he felt like a real American. He felt more proud to be an American than ever before, because the nation, the United States of America, our nation, united like never before. And I don't know how many of you remember seeing the Senate and the House on the steps of the Capitol, holding hands and singing God Bless America. We forgot about backgrounds, we forgot about ethnicity, we forgot about religion, and we were just all Americans. 7 years ago, before this event happened, none of us ever knew or thought that something like that could happen to the United States of America. We thought that no one could penetrate our boundaries. We thought that no one could attack us. We've grown a lot since then. We became a nation that now secures its borders better than ever before. We became a nation that knows that this happened once and it can happen again, and that made us stronger. We became a nation that made sure that the youth of our community, that you will never forget that September 11th happened, that you who were 7 years old when it happened will grow to be a citizen who would always remember the events of September 11th. And when I got the email to be here and to celebrate and remember this day, I was very proud. And I was very proud because the idea to do this came from a student. The idea to be here today didn't come from me, didn't come from your principals or your teachers. It came from you. And that's something that makes me very, very proud. And I would like for State Representative Eddie Gonzalez to come and stand next to me. And Eddie was a council member back then when this happened, and I've been elected for 1 year. And I'll never forget sitting in my office, not knowing what was going to happen. We were only a few miles away from Turkey Point, which is a power plant, and our city was in great danger at the time. We didn't know where we were going to get hit next. We didn't know if the attacks were going to continue, and it was a time that I will never forget. Not knowing what was going to happen is something that I never wanted to feel again as mayor of this city. And we can only do so much, but eventually, the next generation of students the next generation of Americans, will have to carry that torch. And I want you to remember every year September 11th, and there's a push now to make September 11th a national holiday so that no one ever forgets and no one ever takes our country for granted. And I want to personally thank each and every one of you, all the officers standing here behind me, your principal, your teachers, State Representative Eddie Gonzalez, for making this day happen. And it looks like it's going to rain, and that's also very symbolic. I've always thought that rain is a blessing from the sky. And if it rains and it looks like it's going to rain, I guarantee you that those are tears of joy. And they're tears of joy because although we lost nearly 3,000 lives, because of those lives we lost, many of the lives will be saved in the future because we don't take anything for granted. We're a vigilant country, a vigilant nation, and we're now one nation. Democrats, Republicans, Independents, everyone united on that day. And although we may have our differences when it comes to politics, we may have our differences when it comes to daily life. When a tragedy like this occurs in any part of our country, we'll unite as one nation. And that's what makes this country the greatest country in the world. So thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me. I will always be here anytime you want me to be here, especially, hopefully, every year on September 11th, we can make this an even bigger and better event. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Representative, for those kind words. I am proud to introduce Mrs. Annabelle Paja, our media specialist at Hialeah Gardens High School, who will now sing the national anthem. Please stand.
Say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say doth that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Thank you, Ms. Paja. And now students representing Hialeah Gardens High School will lay a wreath in honor of the innocent lives lost on September 11th.
Thank you.